Hello everyone, my name is Jake Montoya and I am a My Brother's Keeper peer advocate with LA County Library. Welcome back to our virtual draw-along video series. In our last episode, we learned how to draw our original cartoon character, Bob. We learned some of the basic techniques to drawing characters like undersketching, layering, inking, and coloring. In today's video, we're going to take it a step further and learn how to give Bob different facial expressions and build his personality. As you can see, so far we've drawn Bob with both a happy and a sad face. There are a few key features we should pay special attention to whenever we are trying to change a character's facial expression. Their eyes, eyebrows, cheeks, and mouth are very important. For today's lesson, all you will need is a pencil, an eraser, and some paper. Blank paper, lined paper, or even scratch paper will do. Today's lesson will involve a lot of experimenting and playing with our sketches, so we won't be inking over anything in the video, but you can absolutely ink your drawings at home and use our faces as practice. Let's go ahead and get started. First, I want you to think about how important facial expressions are. Think about how you communicate with your friends and family. A lot of the time, we can communicate what we are feeling and thinking just through our face. This is especially important with cartoons because as drawings, their faces do most of the talking. Let's start by sketching our egg shape for Bob's head for us to use as a base. For our first expression, excitement, we can work off of Bob's happy face. When sketching faces, a pro tip is to draw some crosshairs on your face to help you know where your character's facial features should be placed. Crosshairs are the lines you see me draw on Bob's face that make an X across his face. After we draw our crosshairs, now we know that Bob's eye goes just above the horizontal line and his mouth goes just below. By working off of Bob's happy face and our crosshairs, we can sketch his eye and copy the smile from his happy face. This time, to express excitement, we can draw his mouth more open, so we can bring this bottom line down a little bit and open up his smile. To finish sketching his mouth, we can draw a line connecting his mouth to his head like so. Now that we have drawn his mouth open, we can see into his mouth, so let's draw his tongue as well. There are a few different ways you can draw Bob's tongue, but the reason we draw it is to help our drawing look not as flat and to give it depth. After you sketch his tongue, you can draw his tooth as well. Lastly, you can outline the side of Bob's mouth just like so to give our drawing even more depth. Now it looks like you can see more of his jaw and lip. As we move on to Bob's eye, we can copy his happy face and sketch a small arc at the bottom of his eye. What this does is it makes it look like Bob's cheekbones are rising with his smile. Since we are drawing Bob excited, we can go a step further and draw his eyelid. Go ahead and draw a soft arc in his eye near the middle. By drawing his bottom eyelid raising, it conveys a greater sense of excitement and further emphasizes his smile. There is one more feature we should pay attention to that will really help emphasize Bob's expression, his eyebrow. If you notice, in our first drawings of Bob, he doesn't have an eyebrow. If you were to add them to our original drawings, it really helps emphasize his mood. For our excited sketch, we want his eyebrow to be coming upward, just like the rest of his features. Since this is just a sketch, our drawing does not have to be perfect, but every time you draw, it is a chance to practice and get better. Shading in his open mouth also helps us see the depth in our sketch as well. Continuing with his eyebrow, we want to draw a high arc over Bob's eye to illustrate how wide Bob is opening his eye. Notice how much more emotion Bob's facial expression has now that we've added his eyebrow. To draw Bob's surprise expression, we can sketch the same mouth and eye we did for his excited face, but this time we can change his eyebrow. Instead of drawing his eyebrow coming up like an arc, we can draw it coming down like a bend. By doing this, we make Bob look much more pleasantly surprised, kind of like he's getting a gift he never expected to receive. Another expression we can sketch based off of Bob's happy face is his laughing face. For Bob's laughing face, we can sketch the same open mouth we drew earlier for his surprised and excited faces. We can lightly sketch the oval outline of his eye to make sure our placement is right, but we're going to draw his eyes closed, like he is laughing so hard he had to shut his eye. We can do this by drawing a soft V shape from one side of his eye to the other, like so. Next, you want to mirror that shape coming from the bottom and draw a soft peak shape. To illustrate Bob closing his eyes tight from laughing so hard, you can draw an extra line coming from where the two peaks connect. These extra lines help illustrate that Bob's eyes closed tight from laughing so hard. For his eyebrow, you can draw either an arc or a bend to illustrate different kinds of laughs as well. These are just a few of the expressions we can base off of Bob's happy face. Just like with Bob's happy face, Bob's sad face can serve as the base for a few expressions as well, like worry or fear, sleepiness or suspicion, or grouchiness and anger. We can start by sketching Bob's face for worry or fear. It makes me sad to see Bob worry or be afraid, but we all feel these things sometimes, and it's good practice to draw these emotions too. Let's go ahead and start by sketching Bob's head and our crosshairs first, as well as Bob's eye and frown that we see in his sad face. Since we are sketching worry or fear, we can draw another arc on top of his mouth line to indicate Bob's mouth is an open frown. Since his mouth is only partially open, I will draw his tooth sticking out above his top lip as well. Now that we have Bob's worried or afraid mouth drawn, we can go ahead and move on to his eye. Let's go ahead and sketch his eyelid by drawing our arc halfway through his eye again. To draw worry or fear, we can draw his bottom eyelid coming up, just like we did with excited and surprised. For his scared or worried eyebrow, we are going to draw his eyebrow bending downward. This brings his facial expression down with his mood and helps convey that Bob is worried or afraid. If we want, we can even draw an arc at the bottom of his eye to make it look like Bob might be on the verge of tears. Another way we can emphasize Bob's worry or fear are his horns. Notice that Bob doesn't have ears like you, me, or most animals, but he does have horns, which we can draw in place of his ears. In Bob's happy and excited drawings, his horns are pointing up. If we want to draw him afraid or worried, we can draw his horns lying a little more flat. Think of this like with dogs or cats. When they are scared, they tuck their ears behind their head. Bob doesn't have ears, but we can draw his horns that way to help emphasize that expression. Now let's say we wanted to draw Bob more sleepy or tired than afraid. We can make some simple adjustments to his facial features that will convey that expression. We can sketch Bob's open frown and his sad eyebrows, but we are going to change his eye. We can draw it so that instead of Bob's bottom eyelid coming up, it looks like his top eyelid is coming down. Now, instead of looking worried or afraid, Bob looks like he's exhausted and needs to take a nap. We can keep his eyebrows coming downward like he's on the verge of passing out, or we can arch his eyebrow like his happy face to make it seem like Bob is trying real hard to stay awake. Just by changing two very simple elements of Bob's face, we can convey two very different emotions, worry and sleepiness. The last expression we will practice today is grouchiness or anger. For this face, we can sketch his sad frown again, but we are going to open his mouth upward a little differently. From the left side of his mouth, we can draw an arch that goes high and comes down near our middle crosshair. By drawing this line for his mouth, it makes it look like he is scowling and showing us his teeth, or tooth. Drawing a smooth, wave-like line also helps Bob's mouth look more natural. After we draw Bob's mouth, we can work on his eye. So far, we have only drawn an arch on the bottom of his eye coming upward, but this time, to emphasize his scowl and his grouchy, angry eyebrow, we can come downward with the arch near the top of his eye, like so. This downward-facing brow helps emphasize his anger and illustrates an angry facial expression very well. For his eye, we have the option of bringing up his bottom eyelid again to convey anger and misunderstanding. We can also change his eyebrow and eyelid to convey frustration. If we remove his downward brow and make his eyelid that downward arching line, he doesn't seem as angry and looks more frustrated or grouchy. If we play around with his eyebrow as an S-curved line, we can make him look even more frustrated and questioning. I hope you have all enjoyed our How to Draw Bob video and our Draw Along tutorial video series. If you have, be sure to check out some of the digital resources that LA County Library has to offer, like these e-drawing tutorial books by Lee J. Ames on our online database Overdrive. You can access these ebooks and many more at lacountylibrary.overdrive.com. Now that you learned the basics of how to give Bob different facial expressions, I hope you are able to use what you've learned to give your own characters their different facial expressions as well. Thank you again, and please feel free to click the link in the description box for upcoming programs. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for easy access to new videos. See you next time.